Hello all, a Knife Tale here, bringing you a knife review. Not what I was going to do as the next knife review, I'll be honest with you. Oh god, I'm rhyming. I was going to do a front flipper, and then the previous knife that I just had, just ripped my finger open. So if you happen to see the previous summary, you'll know what happened. So we're just doing the push button automatic here. This is the Hinderer Designs XM-18, a 3.5, a pretty iconic knife at this point. And this is the automatic in full titanium, spear point, 20 CV, textured. I honestly don't know if it's bearings in there. It's probably washers in the pivot, but either way, I'm not taking it apart to find out. So, let's get into this thing specs-wise real quick. Three and a half inches of blade, 3.5. It's true to its name. 8 1/4 overall. Handle length should be 4 3/4, which it is. Ratios for size are pretty good, actually. Comparisons to the small Civivi Elementum and the full-size Civivi Conspirator. As you can see, while it does have a bit of an arc to it, it is bigger than both. But it's pretty close to the Conspirator being a full-size knife overall. It's almost identical in blade length. It's mostly just the drop of the handle that kind of sends it off to a slightly longer knife overall. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Ooh, almost got me there. I almost just screwed up. I slipped off of it. That's the good and the bad of Hinderer's ridiculously slick and beautiful stonewash is it's slippery. And I wasn't holding it properly, so it almost just popped me a little. I just got cut. I don't need to do that again. Thickness is actually not that bad. It's pretty close, maybe just a hair thicker than the Conspirator. And overall, in height, it's a little taller. You can sort of see it sticking out there, but with the flipper tab, it's about the same at its thickest point, which is like right around here. Somewhere around there. Sure. Let's get the calipers out. Let's see exactly how thick it is. It is 527 thousandths. So yeah, a little over half an inch. Blade stock is 165 thousandths. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be quite that thick, but it is. And behind the edge, which I'm sure is not going to be great, despite it having a very, very tiny edge bevel, which I am terrified to find out exactly what that degrees per side that edge bevel was actually sharpened to on that knife. What? 15 degrees? 15 thousandths? That's impossible. This is a Hinderer. Stop lying to me. Why is that showing 14 thousandths stick behind the edge? Okay, let's humor me and see what it would be with an actual edge angle. There it is. Okay, so because the edge bevel was so tiny, and it does come down, but as soon as you start going up that blade a little bit, kind of see there, to put a, maybe a 20-degree angle on this thing, you're getting thick real fast. Real fast. This is not a hollow ground Hinderer, and I know they're shallow hollow grinds, but even that would help. This is a thick knife. The blade geometry is definitely hard use. It's pushing into fixed blade geometry, which is it's actually kind of maybe even thick for fixed blade because it doesn't come down to a thin edge, other than just right here at the very edge. It's a bit unnecessary, to be honest, but it is what it is. Hardware is obviously a Phillips. Not a Phillips, a flathead. Oh, God, I'm an idiot today. Every day, all the time. And the rest of it's T8s, which is nice. Just one side, T8, all the way around. These are T8s, right? Yeah, definitely T8s. For a second there, I was like, the T8 feels awfully thick. Tight. No, it's a T8. Okay. And weight. Before weight, the final comparison for actual size is the AA batteries. And as you can see, you have a full handle AA batteries, plus on this particular one being an automatic and not having a flipper, you have a generous that's all, folks. No, you have a generous choil up here that is definitely something you can use, though I will admit it does bring you very close to the knife edge. And if you start taking away steel here, I could see that you may rock, like sort of rotate into the potential edge just a little bit. So, I don't know. That's because of the curvature here, so, It's not a problem right now. I don't think it's going to be a problem for quite a while. But, and by the time it is, the knife is probably going to be, like, way too thick, so who knows. Okay, focus on the no, you're not focusing on the why are you not focusing on that? Yeah, 5.59 ounces is what it's actually at. I don't know why it doesn't want to focus on that today. It's actually not that heavy, considering this is a full titanium Hinderer with this thick a blade stock, with the extra mechanism in there for the spring and everything like that. It's not that heavy. I mean, it's a heavier knife. It's not an ultra lightweight knife. It's not sort of your good average 4-ounce knife. It's 5.5 ounces, but it's not hard to carry this knife. It's not heavy, and it's surprisingly nimble for what it is, considering it is a full titanium Hinderer. Which, just in case anybody didn't know, Hinderers typically have a G10 show side scale. Occasionally micarta or carbon fiber, but mostly it's just G10. The titanium front show side scales tend to run you around $200, which is kind of crazy. I believe we're done with the specs, yeah. Alright, let's just move on into this thing. I was talking about it already, but Hinderer's stonewash is very reflective, very, very attractive. It's super smooth feeling to the touch. It is quite unique. There's not too many other knives out there that have a finish quite like this on them. And it's quite nice. The Hinderer logo is fine. I don't know why it says Hinderer knives. I'm going to say it every time. Why do companies need to put their name next to their logo? But at least it's so small, it looks like it's just part of the logo at this point, so I'm not going to complain too much on this one. USA is a little bit big, but CPM 20CV. I think most people probably know, but if you're watching this, Hinderer tends to run their CPM 20CV too soft. Like, decently too soft. Most companies run it a bit soft, but Hinderer goes a little bit further than that. They say it's for strength, but I mean, geometry, blade thickness, that's your strength right there. Honestly, while CPM 20CV is a good composition, stainless, heavy on the edge retention, except when you don't take it up to a high enough HRC, you lose a lot of that potential edge retention, and you don't really gain that much more toughness in relation to it. But it is just so-so on the toughness. Corrosion. Did I say it was high on toughness? No, it's corrosion resistance. I don't know what I'm saying. I personally like Hinderer's S45EN better. It's a little more forgiving on the treatment, and I think they do a decent job on it. Still thick geometry. I would definitely prefer the slicer with a slight hollow grind on this thing. But when I got this was one of the early ones of these. There have been other iterations, buoys, different blade shapes and stuff like that for these autos, but this was the pretty early in its, when they first came out. It was maybe just like after they actually dropped. I think this might be like the second round of them. And this was all that they had at the time. This was how this thing came out originally, so I just got what I did. And I'm living with it. That's pretty much what this is. There is jimping up here. It is pretty much completely useless. It's a little sharp and hard, but it doesn't provide any traction. It's too wide. It's got the salt roundedness from the stonewash on it. There's no point to it. Moving on to the handles, that's what really won me on this. I don't like half and half knives where you've got different materials or different design language, or a design on this side doesn't carry over to the lock side. Well, when this came out, this was pretty much the only Hinderer, other than getting a titanium scale, that did that. This thing has texturing on both sides and design elements, and it's full titanium, and yeah, there's no doubt at all that this is really good looking. I think that this is a really, really good looking knife. Grip, shape, the curve, the angle. It's comfortable. The ergos are surprisingly comfortable. Maybe not even surprisingly comfortable, but maybe you don't think of Hinderer for comfort. I think this is super comfortable. You think of them as tougher, harder use stuff, but yeah, this is super comfortable. This is providing texture, but again, it's got enough of a ano and polish on it that it's arguably providing a slight bit more grip than this up here. But mostly it's just texture, and it's super comfortable. It's not bothering me whatsoever. It's not hard on the hands. And this sort of faux inlay kind of thing that they're doing here with the texturing, very nice. It's on both sides, very nice. It hasn't actually caused any problems, at least in my experience, with the pocket. It is a little bit tight, so I guess repeated, if you do it all the time, could wear on your pants, but this is pretty smooth too, so it's not too bad. Overall, I think the knife looks good. I don't know if we need the word Hinderer here, but I've noticed that a couple USA companies really like doing it. Chris Reeve likes to put Idaho made for some reason. I don't necessarily care to see that on there. I know it's a USA made knife. I know what it is. I bought it. I don't need to see your logo or all that there. Unlike almost every other Hinderer knife that I like, the Eclipse, the regular XM-18s and 24s, I think the Jurassic even, it is not a multi-position pocket clip. It does not come tip down. This came this way. Tip, up, carry, and that's all you got. Arguably, because it's, an automatic with a button, it could have been a left-handed carry, but I gotta be honest with you. I'm kind of glad it isn't. Because you would have needed to change the milling here, and then you wouldn't have had a whole slot for this to sit in. I don't know. I think it would have detracted. I do think that it would have detracted a little bit So sorry, left-handed people, but maybe. Do they do left-handed versions? I know they do regular XM-18s, that they've done left-handed versions, but maybe they'll do some autos if they haven't already. Other than that, otherwise, I mean, you can just deal with it. It's not exactly uncomfortable here, and you'll just have to get used to how you're carrying the thing, right? Good snap, decently strong, not like super strong, but again, we are probably on phosphor bronze. We are moving quite a thick piece of steel, and it still has a good pop. It's quite nice. It's not the super like fast like bam that Protec has, but it's really good. And this is a big USA made knife and smaller production. It's finished pretty darn well overall. I do just wish the steel was a little bit harder and maybe a little bit thinner. The plunge grind, because that just went out of my head, is actually really good. Like, yeah, you have all the life in the world, you're fine. The stop pin is... Stop pin does hit behind the edge. I suppose that is a detraction. I don't know if it has to hit there. I kind of feel like the stop pin could have just been moved back a little bit and hit right there and been closer. Yeah, there's no reason why it had to hit where it does. It could have been easily just moved over and milled into a different position. Where does it hit? It hits right there. So basically, where the plunge grind ends, the stop pin hits maybe just a tiny bit in front of that. Now, what does that mean? That means that you have a life expectancy on this knife. Once you go past that point, you're done. That is not a problem on this knife, because once you reach that point, that is a lot of sharpenings, and once you reach that point, the knife is probably so thick that it... I mean, let's just out of curiosity, let's see if I can get this thing to tell me how thick the knife is up at around that point right there. Yeah, 35 thousandths-ish. So you're probably not going to keep using this knife at that point. Yeah, yeah, that's a bit too thick to push through things. I'm not going to complain for that reason. Other knives, yeah, if they actually did thinner grinds, I would say, yeah, move that over. There's no reason it can't just go sliding down just a tiny bit and hit, you know, on the thicker point of the knife, or the tang itself, where it's almost full thickness you could probably hit. But it's not really a factor here, so I'm not going to complain about it. The actual complaint lies with just the geometry in general being a little bit more than it needs to be for, you know, a 3.5-inch pocket knife. But, and I have to say, it's sharp, but it's a bit slick. It does not have a whole lot of bite, and I have not used this knife much. I have carried it. There's actually a couple little dings on it from carrying it, which is actually pretty unusual for even my knives. Mine, I keep them pretty clean usually most of the time. But yeah, there's a few marks on this thing. The final thing to talk about with Hinderers is, of course, the USA-made price point. They're expensive. These are not cheap knives. They are a relatively small batch, almost sort of mid-techy kind of knives, and the price reflects that. This knife is $650, and that does hurt. But one thing I will have to say, the base Hinderers XM-18s, in pretty much any configuration, just the base version of these things, are around $425. It's a lot. It is. It's not actually that bad for the small production, kind of compared to some of their competitors. They're actually okay priced. But when you factor in the fact that a titanium scale normally costs $200, well, suddenly your $425 knife is now a $625 knife. And seeing as this one is $650 with full titanium automatically, the extra little bits and bobs for the automatic mechanism, and the texturing, I actually think these are decently priced for what they are. If you're just looking like, I mean, yeah, you can, everything you see, you could say, oh, I wish that was cheaper. Oh, I don't think that's worth that. Yes, if that's your view, then that's your view. But based on other knives from Hinderer, based on their standard pricing, these are actually priced all right. Pretty good, even. Like, I could have see that being like a $700 knife. I don't think it should be. But with the extras you're getting on top of the base pattern XM-18, it wouldn't be outside the realm of semi-understandable for them charging that. I don't think it should be. I think it should be $600 personally, but at $650, I'm not complaining here. So, yeah, the Hinderer XM-18 3.5 auto. Mouthful. But that is it for the review on this knife. We're all done here. If you stuck around, I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. I gotta start saying that earlier in the video. I mean, I hate to like harp on it or anything, but I greatly appreciate it. It would help the channel out and everything like that. So think we're all done here, actually. So I'm gonna call it and say see ya later.